Welcome to Real Outdoors. Captain Adam here. We got a great episode for you today. Awesome captains. Can't wait for you to meet them. Big thanks to Captain Chucks and to Ludington Beverage for their great sponsorship and making this all happen. Hit that subscribe button. Help us out. We need some more subscribers. Share all of our posts and like this video. Leave a comment if you like. We'd love to hear from you. So let's meet those captains.
Hi, my name is Joel Devries, boat fin scout from St. Joseph, Michigan.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Barber. The boat name is Innuendo out of Grand Haven, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Chris Peplinski with Pure Chaos Pro Fishing, and I am out of Onekama, Michigan.
All right, so this topic today comes from the internet. Somebody posted on one of our Facebook posts that they'd like to know how far behind the ball on your downrigger do you run baits. Now, it's all different. I'm going to say, number one, all different baits, all different depths, or all different depths that you're fishing, lengths that you're going to run. But let's try to kind of generalize it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think Chris should go first on this one.
I can.
But before we start, we got to give a shout out to Cutwater cocktails in a can. These things are great. If you haven't tried these yet, you should have some of these in your fridge on your boat for after when you're done fishing. You know, right? You can try those out.
Right there.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah,
yeah.
All right, Chris. Balls and lengths.
I would say, trout fishing, probably 15 foot behind the ball. That's what I typically run.
Yeah,
15, 20 foot. I mean, I'm not too real precise on that, but it's right there, closer to the ball on those. If I'm running spoons, it's kind of a hard question to ask because there's a lot of different factors, like you were saying.
There is. Explain a couple of the factors, maybe.
Okay, I guess trout fishing, obviously, you keep it closer to the ball. If I'm fishing shallower water, the shallower the water I'm fishing, the longer the leads I do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
And what's the reasoning?
Well, I want to get obviously the lure away from the boat and get it away from the ball, and obviously the water's. I mean, you ran in today; it's gin clear. I mean, you could see a nickel on the bottom at about 50 foot of water right now. So, getting spoons and getting plugs or whatever we're running at that point away from the ball. If I'm running paddles, I would say probably 30 foot. I don't have a really wide beam boat, so I kind of keep them a little shorter, just because if they do start rotating big time, I can get tangled. You do. I mean, I don't have that wide of a beam, so I do have to only have.
It's a good consideration to have. Yeah.
I mean, I'm no different than a Lund or whatever. You have two riggers, and it is what it is.
Yep.
You know, but yeah, I mean that's I guess it.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I run a lot of braid to mono. I run braid with a mono top shot when I'm trout fishing. A lot of times. Not always, but usually, and I do that because I know that I set my trout leader length the same every single time, so I know where the knot is, and then I can reproduce the trout length because I think it very much matters on a given day. So some days the trout won't bite if the leader is not 12 feet or longer. I mean, sometimes they want it a little bit further back. Some days they want it really tight, and if I'm not getting them to bite, I'll vary that leader length till I figure out what seems to be triggering more bites. As far as not trout fishing, if I'm king fishing, I think it depends a lot on the water clarity. Like you said, I stretch things out a lot. If the water's clear, I try to get it away from the boat. If I'm trying to, first thing in the morning, I'll run shorter leads because it's easier to get them down quick, get a couple bites and get them back out quick. And I think as the sun comes up, I will stretch it back a lot. Depending on the size of the rotator, that can also change how long of a leader length that I'm going to run. If I'm running a 10-inch, fish-shaped flasher versus an 8-inch spin doctor, that's going to change, how far back you can stretch them out without causing problems. And then spoons, again, same thing. Like sometimes we might put them back 25 feet. If we're having a hard time getting bites, we try to get away from the boat. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, so generally speaking, I mean, if you're in the morning, if you could say on our boat, we're probably thinking 50 foot or less early in the morning. And then generally speaking, as the day goes on, sun comes up or the day matures, we're probably looking at 50 feet or longer. That's a general statement, right?
Yeah.
Obviously specific to the baits and so forth. Same thing, like if we're offshore fishing, deep water trout fishing, like we talked about earlier, those leads are probably going to be longer, especially when we're running some of the bigger, 11-inch or 10-inch products, whether it be spin doctors or pro trolls. You get that bigger rotation. You're trying to attract that fish from a greater distance, possibly. So that lead is going to be long, in the deep water fishing as well. So that's kind of generalities. We know it specifically changes based maybe on bait or history, like Jeremy was just talking about. Did we catch something that was only 10 foot off the ball here recently instead of 50? So we'll repeat what has worked, but generally speaking, those are the ranges that will work, and depending on the time of day and what kind of water we're in.
Yeah, I think that there has to be a lot of consideration in the length. So what kind of bait you're going to run. So if you're running a spoon, you can really vary the length quite a bit and not create problems for yourself. If you're running a beck hold or a John King or a Kingfisher, something that has a huge rotation, the longer you make that lead, the bigger that rotation, and you have to keep that in consideration. I don't know that it can cause tangles, especially with a narrower beam.
Boat, yeah.
Right.
So as your beam gets narrower, we have a 12-foot beam. We can pretty much do what we want on our out and downs, but we got to be careful about running a rotator on the out and down and a rotator on the chute. Now, with a 16-foot beam, there's less consideration of that.
Right.
With an 18-foot beam, there's even less. I mean, but you have to think about what that bait's doing behind there. But duplication is very important. And if you're not getting bit, change that lead length.
Yep.
Shorten it up. And 5 feet can be the difference between 3 bites an hour and no bites an hour.
Correct.
So those are details that you need to pay attention to. And we were talking about this off camera, that in a tournament situation, you have maybe 4 or 5 guys setting rods. Whoever set the chute, if the chute goes, the guy that sets the chute sets it again, because you want it's close to exactly the same as what you had the last time. Does it make that big of a difference? In my confidence, it does.
Yep.
And confidence will get you a long ways with not worrying about your baits so much and worrying about your driving.
Well, it's one less variable.
It is.
You can knock it out. Say, all right, well,
It's exactly the same. So what else changed?
exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
And
If they're eating the bottom of the boat that day, maybe it doesn't matter so much.
yeah,
But we've all kind of seen tough fishing.
yeah,
The last few years have been a little tough on the silverfish,
Mhm.
so we try to make sure everything's the same.
yeah, and really paying attention to the smallest details will get you a long ways with that. And I think trout fishing, normally when we approach trout fishing at the beginning of so we're gonna trout fish, here we go, we're going to stagger our downriggers,
Leads. Yep.
and one of them is going to probably work. And then if the out and down goes twice on the port side, and that's at 35-foot lead, that's the lead. If it's the starboard side and it's a 12-foot lead or whatever, 20, that's the lead that both of them go to.
Right.
And usually once you start to figure out those little details, you can kind of compound it and get more rods involved in the same program. And I think that'll help. I think that lengthening out your divers, that seems to be, especially with the clear water, you'll see that a lot, that people are doing that. But there again, if you have a 20-foot diver lead or a 30-foot diver lead with a 10-inch rotator, you've got to consider what's going on with that rotation of that bait as you're letting it out. Once it's out there, it's probably fine by itself, but it's got to go past your downrigger on the way down. So you have to think about all of that in a 3D relationship to each other. That'll really save you on the tangles. Understanding that you're having that big rotation. Now, if you have a 10-inch rotator on your out and down, and you're trying to let out a big rotator on your low diver, you're going to probably have a problem if you don't move one out of the way, or let the low diver out to shoot, and then move it over once it's far enough away from the rigger. So usually getting tangles is how you figure out that doesn't work. But be proactive in trying to not get tangles is important as well.
And separating your divers. I mean, that's
Yeah.
knowing what you have here. If you're running two 11-inch paddles on your divers,
Yeah.
you better have them. I mean, just as well as I do.
Yeah.
They better be separated by at least 100 foot, I would say.
And I see people do it a lot, and maybe we run a lot of rods. We run on a normal day 15 rods or more. It's very seldom that we run 9, which we have to do this week. So that's definitely a challenge. But I let my divers out on the drag, and what that allows to happen is 2 things. It's going to slowly descend, and it's going to allow that diver to pull it out in a way.
Yep.
So if you're free spooling your diver, it's a lead weight dropping. If you have tension on your diver at all, even if a little bit, you'll see that diver start to pull out, and it'll pull it away from your rigger. So that's kind of an important thing, and that when you're setting your rigger, if you have a strong current hitting your starboard side, it's going to cause your port rigger to be out by your diver. So you better move your low diver to the center of the boat, set your rigger, and then move the low diver back. You got to think about that relationship. And if you have that current and you don't want to move it, or you can't, watch your low diver when you're letting out your downrigger, and that'll definitely help. And if it is getting tangled, you can shorten that lead up, and a lot of times that'll kind of help with that situation, or let it down faster if you can.
We also hold from the release clip back to the bait. We grab that line as we're sending the out, down, and let it come through your hands, so that you're not sending it down with it fully stretched out. Basically,
Sure.
It's following straight down, and then as it gets close to the water, you let go of it, and then you don't have a 20-foot leader swinging into your low diver.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we're the same thing with our riggers, we'll let them down. The rigger rod's in the holder on the drag.
Yep.
And that keeps you from getting a huge bow of line out there.
Yep.
That can cause an issue for you as well. So, do we have any questions from our audience?
After 9 o'clock, you have 3 baits to catch 3 big kings. Go ahead.
Well, that's a great question. That has nothing to do with downrigger lengths, but I'm gonna go. I'll go for it. All right. So I think you have baits that you have the most confidence in. If you don't see some kind of a pattern in your fishing throughout the day, I really think it's okay to go back to those baits.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain baits that are, a glow blade, whatever, probably not going to work midday, but there's certain baits that will work all day. Don't be afraid to go back to those baits. If you need that bait for that, if you're going to put your money on something, you're going to put it on what you believe in.
Yep.
So you want to give up one of your baits?
Mine?
Yeah,
Hey, how many times have we talked about this?
I know.
I don't get too intricate. I'm pretty simple. I'm a white slick pickled guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a blue bubble. Those are my 2 best rods. Just splice it.
All right, Joel, what's one of your kind of
So we would
Go-to.
probably go to maybe a Lance's Margarita meat rig, wild fern, so Rapture wild fern teasers. We would probably go to Chrome Spin Doctor with Green Crinkle Holly's Fly. Those are kind of old go-tos right there, but we would probably circle back to. They've treated us well over the years.
Yep.
So, and then maybe the third one would probably be a struggle between maybe a Green Splatter, Ace's High J Plug.
Even when the sun's high.
That's Green Splatter has treated us pretty well through a lot of
it's a pretty
different
good bait.
circumstances. So, and the last one would be trouble because we'd have a hard time figuring out what the third one would be. It might be Mountain Dew Spin Doctor with Mirage Fly. Trying to think of what else it might be. What the blue-green dolphin has treated us pretty well over the years too
Yeah.
on the spoons.
Yeah, I don't think you
we
can
might
do
jump that guy in the water as well.
I think that the green killer for us is that's been our afternoon.
Good one.
That one goes out. It was funny today because normally Mike and I talk quite a bit when we're fishing, and today apparently we weren't talking because we both had one on our high diver when we pulled him in. I was like, man, that's a great high diver bait for midday. But what about you, Jeremy? You can't get out of this,
Right. Yeah.
Right.
free and clear.
I mean, this is old school, but just a white
What is that, Jeremy?
pearl fish scale flasher with a poofster fly and pearl beads. I run that consistently. Run if I'm trying to catch big kings. It catches a lot of big kings for me.
Yeah.
And then probably on my divers, I'd have this. Oh, it's tied to it's attached to the table. No, I can show it. A netminder UV spinny with a weenie.
Showtime.
Yeah, Showtime.
Yeah.
With a weenie jackhammer. That's a good bright day bait for us. We've caught a lot of fish on that over the years. And then for the last
What's the who makes the meat rig?
big weenie brand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so big weenie brand meat rigs. And then the last one would be very clearly, this thing has been really good for us for the last couple of years, and that's just Kevin's girlfriend with JJ's boyfriend, big weenie meat rig. I mean, that's the two 30s that we weighed the last couple of years have been on that. So
Nice.
fish.
Nice.
Do you tend to run more 8-inch than 10-inch? Just because I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think it varies a lot on where I'm putting it. On my coppers, I'm usually running 8 inches because I just don't want to deal with a 10-inch spinny out there.
Yeah.
Rotator.
Yeah.
On my divers, I love 10-inch, 10-inch big weenie paddles, 10-inch spin doctors. I mean, I like a big rotator if I'm king fishing.
Yeah.
If I'm really king fishing, but not on coppers. I hate that.
Kind
So
of pain to reel in.
it's too much drag on them. So
Yeah, I think that as the day goes on, everyone tends to speed up, and I think it's I did it today, and I think it's almost a nervous thing. Like you want to cover more water because you think the fish are farther apart, and if you're gonna do that, I think an 8-inch rotator or a smaller rotator. I'm a Dreamweaver guy. I run mostly spin doctors, but if you're gonna run faster, smaller seems to be more speed tolerant. And we've all had this conversation a bunch of times about even like with trout fishing, being able to run spin doctors. You can go a lot of different speeds and they're still effective. And I think it's changed the way that we trout fish. But at the same point, it goes true that during the day, you're probably going to speed up. As you put more spoons in the water, you're probably going to speed up.
yeah.
Smaller plugs, whatever you're going to do. But, yeah. So even though the question was completely off base, I think it was still a very relevant question. So thank you for that one. And once again, thanks to all these guys for being here and sharing some information with all of you. Thanks to Cutwater. Thanks to Captain Chucks. Always a good host for us. And I hope you get out there this week, catch some more fish. Tune in next week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. That helps us to get a little bigger following. And we can't wait to see you guys again next week.